Hey, this is Notser, and we're checking out the one, the only, the German destroyers. At Tier 2, we've got the V-25. Now, the V-25 is pretty fun. It's a very hard-to-hit destroyer. It has forward-launching torpedo systems. Its AA protection is pathetic, but it's a Tier 2. Who cares? Obviously, as a Tier 2, there's not a lot to be expected about this ship, but it can outrange its torpedo systems base. Once you've upgraded the torpedoes, you don't have to have concealment expertise on your commander, and that's pretty cool. So you can have a lot of fun duking it out, and I do duke it out pretty well in this ship, in this game. I will probably share it just for fun, and you'll say, oh, you're seal clever. You know what? I don't care. I had a lot of fun in it. But yeah, forward-launching torpedoes, it can outrange its base concealment, so if you improve it, obviously that's a bonus, and just have a lot of fun with the ship. It's a Tier 2. At Tier 3, we've got the G101. Now, the G101 is similar. It's not quite as easily beating its concealment base. It only has 300 meters for the torpedo systems. But if you improve it with your camouflage, or if you have a commander, if you're one of those sickos that has a 19 skill commander, I raise my hand, then you can have fun with any ship at low tier. So it's a super solid German. It doesn't have access to hydroacoustic yet. It still has the forward-launching torpedoes, which is really nice. People just don't expect it. But the first 2 or 3, I think Tier 2, 3, and the 4 all have forward-launching torpedoes. Then they go to their standard fare, where they have a quick rearm cycle, and you send your torpedoes on cooldown, use your guns. You want to use AP when the target's broadside. You don't want to fire too much outside of that, however, because you are still a very easy target, quite honestly, compared to other destroyers. The bulk of the Germans are starting to get up, but the G101, it's super solid. There's nothing inherently awful about it. Here's the final forward launching, the V170. It still has 105mm guns, which were on the Tier 2 and the Tier 3, I believe. The armor's okay. I mean, it's a destroyer. What do you expect? It's got terrible AA defense. Still, the concealment is still good enough to outrange the torpedoes. I always recommend for the Germans to upgrade your torpedoes first, because usually they're giving you range on your torpedoes. The German destroyer line, basically the torpedoes were always just an upgrade. And an upgrade gives you the ability to stealth torpedo, and stealth torpedoing is a huge step from something like the Soviet destroyers, where you have to be visible to send your torpedoes. It's very dangerous, or the enemy has to make a mistake and come towards you. So V170, very solid, still no hydroacoustic. It's not the T-22, which is the Tier 5. This one looks like a tugboat had a sexual relationship with some ugly person. It's really bad. It's the low point of the German destroyer line. I can't say it any other way. Now, the torpedoes do more damage. There is no longer forward-launching torpedoes. Still 105, very small. You still don't have hydroacoustic, so you've just got to be more intelligent with your usage. But once you understand how to play the Germans, you can apply that to the T-22 and find success. You want to predict the path of the enemy, send your torpedoes against it, send your torpedoes always. Great cooldown. Switch to AP when they're broad, and be as conservative as you can, with the understanding that you've got all the tools to go the full distance. You don't need to rush through the game. Your torpedoes are going to be difficult for the enemy to track, and they will land more often than not. At Tier 6, we've got the Ernst Gaede. This is the first German with the upgraded hull that has access to hydroacoustic, and it completely changes the way you play the entire line. It gives you the ability to rush down targets who are sitting in smoke. You can defensively use it to protect yourself from torpedo systems. You have access to, if you choose, 150mm guns. You have 128 or 150. I prefer 128, and the reason I do, I can use the AP against certain destroyers and not overpin. I've even overpinned cruisers. There's just not a lot of armor for 150 to be effective. It's just more often than not, you're overpinning when you're using AP, so you have to stick with HE a lot of times. If you want to use 150, it's really a dot style. You set fires, you set floods, you set fires again, and you try and wear them down that way. And it works out very well. But the rate of fire is slower, so you have to be more precise with your aiming when engaging a destroyer. You'll probably miss a little bit more with the 150, but it's fun to play with both and see which one works for you. At tier 7, we've got the Leberecht Maass. Again, hydroacoustic. This does not have 150. This is 128. I also like using the 128 because that's pretty much what the entire line from here on out is going to be using. If you're comfortable with it, you're comfortable at tier 7, 8, 9, and 10. It's got 8 533mm torpedoes, which easily outrange the surface detectability, and it gets even better with concealment. These are ships that work very well with a very slow skill commander. You don't really have to put a lot of investment to make it function. That's the nice thing about the Germans. If you play it with torpedo focus, objective control, and destroy the enemy destroyers so they can't outrange you or anything like that, you will absolutely win more games than you can possibly lose. It's just a super solid strategy, and the Germans do it very well. Now, they do have a weak smoke. Globally, their smoke lasts about 20 seconds shorter than any other line for destroyers. However, that's not really a big deal. Just make sure that you're paying attention to your smoke charge. At tier 8, we've got the Z-23, the last German destroyer with the potential to load 150mm guns. And just like the Ernst, the 150 have a slower rate of fire. They do have a higher chance to set the target on fire. You really focus on a dot style. AP will not be as usable against certain cruisers like British cruisers or something like that because they're so thin. However, there's more armor at tier 8. 150 actually feels pretty damn good at tier 8. I definitely recommend it over the tier 6 150s. You will use your AP more effectively, but you can't AP any destroyer at all with 150. So it's a give or take. There's no valid or invalid way to play. Just make sure that you play to your strengths. Do you like shooting every once in a while? Do you prefer a faster rate of fire? Do you like being able to citadel enemy cruisers with fairly low armor? Or do you consider any of that? Is that important? The gun caliber does not influence the turret traverse. Both the 128 and the 150 are slow. Same on the Ernst, so you're not going to gain any speed. You won't be able to use advanced firing training or basic firing training for the 150, so keep that in mind. At tier 9, we have the Z46. Now, the Z46 is fantastic. I love it. 628mm guns. We've got 8 533mm torpedoes. This has the ability to do rate of fire, faster torpedo rearm, increase range. I think this one can't do increased range. Let me just double check that really fast. The module, the increased range module, and we'll know in a split second. Yeah, you could do increased range module. I would discourage you from doing that. I focus on torpedo rearm, get the torpedoes out, take out the targets. Yes, the per torpedo damage is lower than the Japanese, but everyone has lower torpedo damage than the Japanese. That rearm cycle is insane. 70-second rearm on your torpedoes, you basically have it up every time that you need to. Look at this Conqueror. Punish this guy. Just, take it. And it felt so good to get this guy all the way done. He can't recover from that. And we just previously set him on a flood with our torpedoes because the cycle is so quick. At tier 10, we've got the Z-52. I really like the Z-52. Up until now, we've had basically generic cruiser hydroacoustic. The Z-52 gets the German cruiser hydroacoustic, so it gets an extra kilometer range. It's very deadly. It is thicker, so the Germans will have AP stick in their ship a little bit more often than the other destroyer lines. Keep that in mind, but what you're bringing to the table is impressive. 10.5 kilometer torpedoes. You've got 6 128mm guns. AP on a broadside is fantastic. It does about 3K per shot. You can't argue with that. you wipe people out very quickly. And it's just a fantastic line to play. Torpedoes, AP on the broad, HE to set fires, use your hydroacoustic to play the objective, both aggressively to detect targets in smoke, and defensively to detect torpedoes coming into your team or your own personal smoke. AA's okay. I can't sing enough praises about the German destroyer line. We were so wrong with our first video after the changes because they were just nerfed versions of what we played. And after playing them and developing a strategy, it works. It works very consistently. I hope everyone gives them a chance. That's all I'm asking from you if you're watching this video. I hope you have a fantastic day, and I'll catch you next time.